What's good everyone, welcome back to Ruck Travels. Today's video is a bit of a different one. It's going to test my creative ability a little bit. The idea is basically show you my experience of Elephant Nature Park in Chiang Mai. The reason I want to share this experience with you is because animals have a big part of my life, as you probably know from my daily updates with Ringo and Ruby, my two cats, aka my furry children. Animals have a big part to play when you do go travelling, because we tend to go to places that are a bit more exotic, have a bit more going on than foxes and the odd pigeon. They do tend to have some quite interesting animals, and along with that can come some big problems as well as some big rewards. So not only am I going to show you loads of footage and pictures from my experience, I also want to spread the message about ethical animal tourism and how you can be responsible and how easy it is to help those animals that can be in danger / in a bad position that they could definitely be out of. The reason I picked Elephant Nature Park in terms of all of the different elephant experiences available was because I heard about it online that I'd seen other YouTubers go to, and the big thing there is ethics and actually looking after the elephants. Towards the end of the video, I'm going to go into a bit more depth about ethics and animal tourism and how you can do your bit. But for now, I just want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy about 96 elephants, 12 buffaloes, 30 cats, 20 dogs. Some of those dogs only have 2 legs, but we don't discriminate. They're all welcome. Let's go. From those pictures and videos, you should understand why Elephant Nature Park holds such a special place in my heart and why it's one of the best experiences I've ever had travelling and in my life in general. To be honest, it really was a bucket list thing. I'm really pleased I did, and I'm really pleased I went to that particular park. So like I said previously, I want to talk about how important animals are to the world and travelling, and how we can all do our bit to help, and hopefully Elephant Nature Park can benefit from this one way or another. If you want to follow them on Instagram, it literally just is Elephant Nature Park, so I'll put the link in the description below for you. So yeah, I'm just going to break it down for you really easily. So the reason we picked Elephant Nature Park, or the reason I was quite pushy on it with Tom, was because you can do an elephant experience in Thailand for 60 to 80 pounds, and as much as you are tending to work between 20 to 40 pound a day budget, you do go travelling to do things that are there on offer, and sometimes you do have to part with some money for it, and these experiences, especially this one, is just absolutely worth it. We basically paid £120 each for a 2-night 3-day stay, which was absolutely, I would have paid triple. I would have paid so much more for it. It was unbelievable. The thought of knowing what you're doing for the elephants and what you get is really good value for money. So let me break that down for you really quickly. So £120 in a 3-day period, you're looking at £40 a day. So really, you could be spending that on anything anyway. But the reason it's so good value for money is, as much as they're a vegan only and very eco-friendly environment, you eat their food and you eat for free. So you're getting 3 meals a day there, which is 6 meals. So 6 meals could equate from anywhere between 15 to 60 pounds. You're getting that money back, which tends to be about £10 a night as well. So that's £20. So already you've looked at about clawing about £80 back. So for the experience itself, you're paying about 50. And you've got to bear in mind, this is a really big ethical park that will have upkeep costs, and there will be a lot of things to maintain. It is a volunteering experience that you can get involved with, as we did for a few days. But obviously they do have to make money to, accommodate things and help the elephants, feed them, do all that sort of stuff. So I think it's good to think about where your money's going before you sort of forget the idea about it. I'm not saying you have to go to this park, because there are other great ones which, as much as you should do some research beforehand, there are some key things to look for, and that's what I want to talk about today. Elephant Nature Park was founded by a woman called Lek, who's absolutely amazing. and her mission is basically to protect elephants and rescue them from undesirable situations. Undesirable situations, as much as we do tend to look at them as almost natural or cultural things, a lot of elephants are involved in things that aren't natural. Natural is a big word for me in animals because it connotes a lot with animal cruelty and animal peace. My overall principle of animals is if they're doing something completely unnatural, then it shouldn't be happening, full stop. And I want to explain that in a bit more depth. So, like I said previously, you can pay less money to do elephant experiences. Now, some of them are ethical, but more often than not, there will be big signs of people bathing and riding the elephants, and it'll be like £50-60. Now, at a moment's notice, at first glance, you do think, what a good deal, it's really good. You may not be directly harming the elephants. The first thing to look for is that it advertises itself as a no riding environment. Now, elephants are huge, and us riding them per se isn't cruel, in my opinion, in the way that elephants can literally hold a lot of humans. Like me, for example, if I'm like an average weighing human, probably a little bit less or more, don't really know, it's nothing. It's like me carrying a parrot on my shoulder or something like that, I imagine. But what people need to realise is there's a lot of things that go into elephants letting people ride. We shouldn't be naturally riding elephants because it's not a natural process. Reason being, elephants, ever since old times, and it still happens now, humans use elephants as vehicles, workers, you know, you name it. They're basically a part of the workforce in a lot of developing countries. In my recent trip to India, I saw that quite often, especially in Jaipur. There was elephants involved in weddings, ceremonies, carrying people, equipment, all sorts. They haven't quite grasped the concept of how important animals are. Let me just fine tune it a bit for you. So, for an elephant to let us ride them, a lot of things have to go into that. I would suggest to watch some more videos on YouTube, which I'll hopefully try and put in the link for you, or I can message you personally if you prefer that. Ultimately, a lot of elephants are used in circuses, for performance, for entertainment. If I went up to an elephant, a wild elephant, and said jump through this hoop, or walk over this bridge and do a flip, or whatever it might be, it would not do it, because it's an animal. We cannot communicate with them. However, as you may know from basic psychology, animals can learn from association. There's two forms of association, one being positive and then one being negative. Sadly, 99% of that association is negative. Elephants, in order to perform and entertain for a crowd, they're given negative reinforcement for disobedience. So what I mean by that is when they're taken away from their mothers or their herds at young ages, they're basically trapped in, it's like being trapped in a coffin for like their size. So it'll be like a 4 metre by 4 metre wooden enclosure where they're trapped and beaten repetitively. I know it's really horrible to hear, and you may feel guilty if you've been to a riding park after watching this, but sorry, like this is something I care a lot about and you do need to take notice of it. And if you're going to do it in the future, please bear it in mind. They're trapped in these boxes, and the idea is that it crushes their spirit and it absolutely just drains the life out of them until they go mentally insane. If you were a human trapped in a coffin and there was holes in it where people could stab you, poke you, hit you, whack you, you would eventually lose your mind and your spirit would be broken and you would literally just be like a dead man walking. And that's essentially what elephants are. So when the spirits are crushed, it basically means that they can manipulate them and teach them to do things which are undesirable or unnatural to the elephants, such as basic things such as lifting their front legs or their back legs, or little things. And they basically are beating them, hitting them, manipulating them, torturing them the whole way through until the elephant gets the message that that's the right thing to do. We know full well it's wrong because we're educated and we understand. Obviously the elephants don't. All they know is their own safety and their own physical desires, i.e. food, water, shelter, which is what they're given, providing they perform correctly for the mahouts and trainers. This is really, really hard for me to talk about because animal cruelty is such a hard thing for the majority of people to talk about, but for me especially, animals have always played a big part in my life and they always will. That's a very sort of brief, undercut way of explaining why elephants need to be cared for. And obviously, as you can tell, because it's so crucial and brutal, these processes of training them are completely unnatural. It shouldn't be happening to anyone or any animal, any being, and no human being should really have the capacity to be able to do that. But that's another topic as to why that goes on, which I can potentially go into another video. The aim of Elephant Nature Park, which is situated in Chiang Mai, as it is with other parks across the country, across the continent, across the world, is that they want to protect and rescue those elephants. So hearing about the mission that Lek has to rescue the elephants and bring them to an environment where they're safe, looked after, and won't have to fear us or anything ever again is just such a powerful thing to think about. So that sort of brought me and Tom there. We looked into it. There's various programs available, such as 1 week, 2 week, and then month-long volunteering schemes, which I very nearly stayed on longer than the few days, but sadly, circumstantially, we couldn't do that. Bottom line for me is you need to think about what goes into these elephants. I think the best way I can explain it is by attaching some articles that go into a bit more depth, because I don't want to get anything wrong. The key takeaways are the crushing of the spirit sounds like a very intense thing, but it's also very real. When you see video footage of it, it will horrify you. It's absolutely awful. But Elephant Nature Park is one of the best places for that. The elephant experience, whether it be Thailand, India, or anywhere in the world that has them to offer, is sort of a thing you will naturally do because it's one of the main attractions in particular destinations. I know it's a really kind of, like, even in my head, like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, the thought of riding an elephant or bathing with an elephant does sound very appealing because it's so out of this world to be that up close and personal with elephants. And I do appreciate that thought process, but why I want to focus on Elephant Nature Park again is that you actually do get to be that up close and personal. As you can see in the pictures and videos so far, you can be this close and closer. I've been closer to elephants than I've been to particular people that I see every day. I've had elephants millimeters away from my face. I have touched elephants, which is another thing which some people are a little bit skeptical over, but my view is as long as my hands were clean and I wasn't putting like sun cream on them or anything like that, then it was safe. And we were going with the guidelines of the park, and obviously this is one of the most ethical places in the world for it, so I think they've got a professional opinion in terms of what's right and wrong. The elephants are divided into very particular groups, so they have family herds, as you can see at the moment. They have elephants that are connected via past trauma, so there was a couple of elephants that were working together on circuses or performances or logging. There was amputee elephants who had had their legs blown up by landmines. But the elephants are all very carefully divided. Elephants that aren't that sociable with people are also looked after separately as well. Some are kept in not enclosures, but in particular areas of the park that are safer. They're with a trusted mahout that they have faith in and trust, which is something that they have to build up over a long period of time. For example, there might be one elephant who is terrified of humans because of its past association through the things I've mentioned previously. There's other elephants that have got very big hearts and are very accepting of humans naturally, that have just had a good start and started in the right place in the Elephant Nature Park. There's been some elephants that have given humans a second chance, rightfully so, and they know that they're safe so they can mingle. And some elephants that were just sort of allowed to do what they like. I mean, the best example is what you're seeing right now, the fact that elephants, I think this one was called Zola or Zila, something like that. It was definitely my favourite one. Basically just followed me around, would come right up to me, and even the mahouts were quite concerned. They said, look, be careful, it's a big elephant. I don't know, it just felt really spiritual to me that I could be that up close and personal with such a magnificent creature. It was just as interested by me as I was by it. So it was a really magical experience. And I'm using a lot of big words and quite intense words, but seriously, when you do this sort of thing, it definitely changes your life if you have any sort of remote interest in animals. But there's also more than elephants. It's also a cat, dog, and buffalo sanctuary. So they've got, their own little ecosystem, really. They've got a huge, they can roam free, but there's like a huge safe shelter for cats where there's like 30, 40, maybe even more cats. There's dogs that have had accidents and been mistreated who are given little wheelchairs and little running equipment to be mobile and live their life. They all live in one happy system. There's buffalo, there's cows, you name it, they've got it all. And all round an absolutely unbelievable experience that I really would suggest you do if you do want to visit Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, or do a bit of research. I'm not saying you need to study it for hours on end, but just sort of look into things. Even when you're at the hostel booking it, just sort of say, look, I'm not going somewhere that's riding or bathing or something like that. Then they'll definitely be able to point you in the right direction. And little things like that, just like a conscious decision of not riding an elephant or going to somewhere that advertises that, you're making a big difference. I don't donate like loads of money to charity for as much as some people do, but you can make big differences that don't cost a penny. I think that's the main thing to think about. Just think about it a little bit, understand the history and what goes into the elephants, animal cruelty, and where that takes them. The positive about what we can do is making that change, making that decision to not ride them, and shrinking that industry, or at least modernising the industry to the point where they say, okay, no riding. But like I say, bottom line, obviously you are doing a really good thing by going to the likes of these parks. It doesn't have to be this park, it doesn't have to be in Chiang Mai, it can be anywhere in the world really, but I would strongly suggest you do an elephant experience. It really is something that you'll never forget. It really will stay with you for life. Obviously, being in conservation isn't natural. We'd like them to be in the wild, but sadly the wild just isn't as safe as it should be. So these experiences or environments are like the next best thing, so we have to sort of accept that. And they're happy, they've got a really good life, and we're contributing towards that. So it's a really good cause I'd strongly suggest you look into. Just give it a browse on the website, see what you think. Hopefully you've taken some things from this. Hopefully you're all staying well during this whole pandemic situation, which does look to be improving, touch wood, in some parts of the world, including here, which is good. So we can start thinking about traveling and stuff very soon. As always, very appreciative of the feedback on the content so far. The last Cambodia video had a really good response, at least I think so anyway, from what I was told. So obviously that gives me an idea of what sort of content to be making going forward. Aiming to get better every time. I think hopefully it is. Hopefully you can give me some more info on that. Anything you want to see video wise or Instagram wise, please get at me, let me know what's going on, what you want to see, what you want to know. I think these sort of videos are really fun for me because I get to show you the wonders of travelling whilst also trying to be somewhat informative and educational as well. So definitely food for thought there. If you want more of the same, give it a thumbs up, comment or subscribe. Follow the Instagram, links in the description. And until then, I'll see you soon in the next video.